We are now.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We'll start our monthly meeting by doing our pledge and prayer. Volunteers for that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, and we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And is the kingdom, and power, and glory, forever. Amen. And good morning again to everybody. Coming and going of our other. Right. Get how to sound here. All right, we have a quorum. Thank everybody for coming out this morning. Can I get approval first of the minutes for the 15th, or any corrections or changes for that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made by Parson and seconded by Andrea. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. That's good. All right. Minutes have been approved. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
We need to do the approval of the minutes for the special meeting.
I didn't know since it was special. Can we do that at the same time? Because it wasn't on there. Can I do the one for the 22nd as well right now? Yes. We're waiting. Okay. Thanks, Parson. All right. We have had our special meeting on October the 22nd. I'd like for someone to motion that we accept it, please. Motion to approve. All right, a second.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been properly moved in second. Any unreadiness? Hearing those, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Hear no opposition, the chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We're gonna be ready. Next, we'll go back again. Are there any changes or anything to the agenda?
We will add the minutes for October 22nd and no changes.
Okay, so just for the update. All right. That'd be wonderful. We'll add 22nd to the agenda. Okay. Ms. Dion?
Okay, all right. So a copy of the monthly budget report was included in your meeting packet. As far as candidate filings, we have a total of 9 filings, 1 for county executive, 1 for state's attorney. We have 1 for county council, 4 for the Democratic Central Committee, and 2 filings for Board of Education. Our election plan for 2026, the gubernatorial plans are due on Monday, November 24th. And those are the plans that you voted on in our special meeting. If anything needs to be updated or changed, I will update you on that. As far as our judges training, we did turn in that schedule and there were no changes with the schedule. Polling place updates, we did go out to New Creation and we did the walk through that polling place and had the rental agreement signed, so it is ready for your signature, Ms. Katrina.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. Our job posting for election program assistants have closed and we plan to do interviews in December. as far as voter outreach on Monday, October the 22nd, I'm sorry, October the 27th. Our office participated in the candidate school for voters, for any, voter that was interested in elected office, assisting with a campaign or just learning about the process. It was sponsored by the Salisbury Chamber of Commerce, Greater Salisbury Committee, and the Public Affairs and Civic Engagement at Salisbury University.
Was it well attended?
It was, they probably had about, 20 people in attendance.
Okay.
So I thought it was, and it seemed to be about the average number that we normally have.
Gotcha.
And we had no, PIA, requests, but I will, update you on, some information I received, once we get to new, business. And that is my report for November.
Thank you so very much. Pete?
December 2nd, I think the county council has to approve those new maps. And Robin, Mr. Cocky is going to submit the notice of approval on December 3rd, unless it's not approved. Everything else is ready to go to adjust the maps in the federal suit. Court's aware of it. They just need the county council to sign off on it. And then it should be signed as soon as the judge reviews it, which hopefully will be in December. It's not going to be before the November deadline, but I think the other deadline is definitely going to be met. That's all I had. The meeting I was supposed to have got canceled. Let's see.
Thank you so much for the information. I don't always look on the internet. Is that December the 2nd? Will that be, a 6 o'clock or a 10 o'clock or 6 p.m. shop?
I'm not sure.
It should be 6,
It should-
because yesterday's was 10.
Yesterday's was 10. Okay, I know they rotated. But that would be 6 p.m.
And court is aware that the meeting's taking place and all they're waiting for is if it's approved, and they're gonna have to pay for it, review and sign.
Okay, thank you for the
You're
update
welcome.
and the information. Old business, we have the district interviews.
And that's what I was gonna report on.
Okay.
Mr. Cocky had called and, they originally were supposed to have it on the, November 18th meeting, and it did get moved to December the 2nd. That's not gonna hold up our election plans that we have in place. I have made the state aware, so, they're fine, and we will continue on, with that.
I'm glad that worked out. Right, so then the 26th plan, as you said, will go, right, the
Yes.
26th budget.
And, if you don't have any questions, that was included in your packet.
Yes, ma'am. Any concerns on the 26th budget that we want to bring to the board? I'm good with it. Then, new business.
I do want to go over, our, death notice information. I'm gonna have Julie, to come up and, click on, the election site so we can actually show you where that information is on the site. If you go under voter registration, so this is our actual site before you go there, Julie. Elections.maryland.gov. So this will be a training for you, as a board on, information on our list maintenance. In addition to, me doing this, I received a letter from a voter. If you can remember last year in September, Mr. Dave Evans and also Vincent Israel came to our meeting. And he sent a letter, regarding, he was inquiring, about voters. And again, we don't answer, that. That's part of our office operations. But what I will say in reference to that is, we are following our office procedures. It's not a PIA request, it's just a letter, asking, or telling us what needs to happen with our procedures. So I do want to go over, the information on our list maintenance that includes, death notices. So you'll be aware, but we did go back and check the information that was provided to us. And, we also, made sure that what we done, as far as our procedures have been followed. So I have checked that. I've had a couple people check it and I went back and followed up on it. So Julie's gonna go to voter registration, click right there. And then on the left-hand side of voter registration, you can see the voter registration list maintenance. You can click there. And, this list maintenance information, it gives you detailed information, on what the state of Maryland does, for list maintenance and, the processes that we do, and information that we get on voters that are registered. And if you can see right at the top, it states that Maryland receives information from other states daily on, individuals who are now registered to vote in another state. And that allows the LBEs, which is each one of the offices in the state, to cancel, their Maryland registration. And if you go down, it also tells you that we also receive information from different agencies, and it names the agencies, and it also names our processes that we follow. So, the first, agency that it talks about is the Department of Health. So we do receive death records from the Department of Health on a monthly basis. When we receive that information, from the Department of Health, we, counsel those voters immediately. There is no verification required for that. The data, is loaded on our MD voters. We're able to look it up. They give us the dates, when it's loaded, and we have 5 days to process that. Our next, information that we receive comes from our administrative office of the court. And that's, sometimes you'll hear us say AOC, and that's for people that, get felony convictions. We also get this, information on, a monthly basis from the courts. That is also loaded into MD voters. We also have 5 days, to send our required correspondence. If, it goes to the voters' homes, they have 2 weeks to reply and explain why the voter records should not be canceled. For instance, if somebody has a felony conviction and they're no longer serving time, and if we send them a letter, they have 2 weeks to call us and say, hey, I'm no longer serving time. If they don't respond in the 2 weeks, then we cancel that record as well. Our next item under here is, notices that are received from federal courts. And we get that periodically. It comes, through paper. We have to process it. Again, the voter has 2 weeks to, respond to us and explain why their records should not be canceled. If they don't, respond to us, like if we send them the letter and they don't respond, we cancel those records as well. Part of our list maintenance process is return mail from USPS, and a lot of times you may hear us say yellow stickers, and the yellow stickers is the mail that we get back from USPS. And we do have, processes that we follow on that for, yellow stickers in the office. We do also periodically get, name and address changes from circuit courts. We update that information if it's within Maryland. If the voters are now out of state, we have a process that we follow with, confirmation mail. And what happens is that mail is sent, to the voter. If a response is received and we get it back, then we process that immediately. If we don't get a response, that's when our voter goes through an inactivation process. After 14 days of no response, that starts the inactivation process where a voter is inactive. And you probably have heard us say, when we're removing records, you have to be inactive for 2 federal elections. That's what happens when we start the inactive process. We also can update address changes from petitions because we have a sign. Go ahead.
On the circuit court stuff, so, a lot of times people will change their addresses because they're trying to avoid jury duty. And so then they, submit the jury application to circuit court, says, I don't live in Wicomico County anymore, right? If we would contact them and they go, no, I actually do live in Wicomico County, they stay on the voter list, is that right?
So what happens if, we get, an address change and it's within, Wicomico County? Then what we do is we would update that information and send that to the voter. And if for some reason it comes, that information comes back, then we would change it according to whatever we receive. But if we receive a name and address changes from Wicomico, we update that information, or Maryland. So say you live in Wicomico, you go to court in Somerset, and you tell Somerset that you are no longer in Somerset, you're in Wicomico, and they send us that, we update the addresses in Maryland. But we send MVRA information or confirmation mail to voters that are out of state.
I think he's asking if they're lying.
What I'm saying is, if they tell circuit court
Yeah.
one thing,
And then-
because they're trying to get a jury duty, but then they tell us when we ask them, hey, circuit court said you moved, and they're like, no, I didn't move, that was a mistake.
So-
Would we keep them in Wicomico County then?
Because circuit court is an agency and they send us an address change.
Yeah.
Addresses are updated. So if they contact us again and tell us to change the address, we change it again. So if the circuit court sends it to us, we update it. If the voter calls us back, we update it.
So they could do whatever they
We
want,
have no,
basically.
well, because the circuit court is an agency for Maryland,
Yeah,
according
They could.
to our information, we have to update it.
I understand that, and,
Okay.
and it's just that people try to dodge jury duty and responsibility within the court system generally, so.
We have no control.
I get that. I was just wondering what our policy was. If what the voter says conflicts with what circuit court is telling us, who do we believe? Sounds like the voter.
Both. Like if the court sends us something, we
Yeah.
change the address.
Right,
If the voter sends us something, we change the address.
gotcha.
So at the end, like if the voter comes in and is like, oh, that's incorrect, I need to update my address, we do update
You
it.
would change it, yeah.
Just admitted they committed perjury on that page.
Correct.
Unless the address again,
But I'm sure but nobody's following up on that because there's no way, because we're not responding back to the circuit court saying they told us something different. So,
no, we don't.
right, so there's
No,
no way.
we
circuit
don't
court would follow
respond
up
back
on
to
that.
the court. Now, again, that's only if the address is in Maryland. If
Correct,
it's out of state,
Yeah.
we follow the MVRA
Right.
confirmation.
right, correct.
Okay,
Which, once again, they could lie about that if they wanted.
yeah,
Well, wouldn't it be when the census would take care of their address listing? Wouldn't it, how do we know somebody's lying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's like
There's
no form of checks on it,
right,
really.
no checks and
No,
not when it comes to that part of it.
No.
Yeah.
I was just making sure I was understanding you correctly.
Yes, that's the process. If the court sends us something and the address is in Maryland, we
Yeah,
change the
Change the
address.
address.
So, address changes are also made from voter signatures on petitions. So if the voter provides an out-of-state address on a petition, we cancel it because we have their signature. If they provide an in-state address, we update the information on their record because we have their signature as well.
Gotcha.
There is a whole nother process for jury processing. And again, the address changes have a process, non-citizens have a process. what I want to focus on is the death notifications for jury commissioners. When we get that, we search that, if we get a notification from the jury that someone has, someone has, died, then we search that in our interface. If we find a voter in the, interface, and that's from our, MDH, we cancel the record because we get that information straight from the Department of Health. If the voter is not located in the interface, we send a notification to their address. If a response is received and it verifies that the voter is deceased, the record is canceled. If we don't receive a response, and this is only for the jury commissioner, if no response is received, we do cancel it after 14 days for jury commissioner notifications. For Eric, it's a little different with the death notifications. And we get that information, periodically on odd months. And that process, is a little different than what it is, for, the jury commission. Basically, we process it, but those processes for that, it does require, us to send out notification. And, if you see where it says death notifications, and they're received in odd months, it provides, the reports provide information, of where we have been notified, and we follow the same process with that notification of where we would have to get something signed from the voter's family. And if you see at the bottom, it says of note, many cancellations require a signed response from voters or their family members if deceased. If a voter or family member does not respond or return official election-related mail, the voter will remain registered to vote. This process is defined by federal law. So if we get a notification like we have received in the mail that someone is deceased and they do have an obituary, we send a letter to the voter's home. If the family sends something back and confirms it, we cancel the record. We also look it up in the interface. If we find them in the interface that is sent to our MD voters, we cancel the record. If we get no response, again, the voter will remain registered to vote. So there is no cancellation process by someone just merely saying the voter is deceased or I see their obituary in the paper. It is mailed out and that verification process has to be done. So if anyone asks, this process is online. And where I was talking about, if you can go down a little bit, Julie, of note, that's where it's noted online for any questions that they may have about that process. So to follow up on the voter that sent information to me, he sent information to the state board. He copied Jared, who is the state administrator. He sent something to Senator Mary Beth Carosa, Delegate Wayne Hartman, and he actually CC'd you as the board on the letter. And again, we are following the process that is mandated by the state. Any questions?
I have a question. The comment that you just made about they're not for the death certificates or for declaring somebody dead, is that federal or state law?
It should be state, because each state does their processes.
Okay.
I can find out and follow up, but I'm pretty certain it's what we follow in the state of Maryland.
Okay. So I guess that same process is used for indigent burials when somebody dies within your county and they're not registered anywhere. So if there's a name it would still remain on the record, so that kind of skews.
So if someone passes in the county, what happens is, like, if they're buried like in a county funeral, funeral home, the funeral homes typically report that information to, our, Department of Health. And we get those lists on a monthly basis. So those lists are, uploaded in our interface, and if those voters are in our interface, we counsel them every month. So we get regular lists of names each month from
So
the
it could
Department
be
of Health.
a number, if there's no way of identifying the person, you can still get the numbers, not names.
We get names. We don't get numbers.
get names.
We get names. The names that the Department of Health sends us names. We can't do anything else other than what they give us as far as names. There is no numbers or anything set.
No, I think maybe I didn't make that clear. If there's an indigent person who dies and we don't have identification for that person, and I mean, it's happened. We've had people who died and the county buries them by state law. We have to do that. And then there's no way of knowing who that person was.
Yeah, we wouldn't get that.
So-
We don't get
So
that.
those numbers don't count.
No, we don't get that information. I think what happens is, they provide lists and the state probably does some sort of processing with it, because most of the names we get are voters that are in our system. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't get names like that.
Okay.
So the bulk of, people that, go through the process, of the normal process, they will be counseled, but you do have a few exceptions. I don't have the number of exceptions that happen, but the bulk, of that is done through the normal processes. But you do have some people that miss, the system due to possibly being buried in another location or another county, and it's just not, reported by those channels unless a member of their family literally comes in and, provides that information, to us. And now what, we have started, the state has started, is they've sent information out to all funeral homes. So when, someone does pass, or die, in addition to them submitting their names to the Department of Health, they give a packet from the state board to the family so that they can follow up and make sure that, that person is taken out of the voter records as well.
That's a new process.
It is. New process they started, a few months ago.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have all the information.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. The next thing on new business was the calendar dates.
Yes, just want to, let you know, our December meeting will be held on the 17th. It is our last meeting, for the year. And we don't have, anything else scheduled out of that, and that will be the date that we will have our holiday, celebration as well.
All right. Thank you so very much. That was a lot of information to cover, but I'm glad it's that concise so that people have all these odd questions thinking that we put everything in one pot. It shows that when people have questions, then we try, or the state tries to figure out how to make sure that that particular thing is covered. That's a good thing. And has a process that can be seen online.
Yeah, it is. And again, if you have other things that you would like, for me to go through, I will, but I just thought this would be a good thing to train everyone on, because we do get a lot of people that ask, questions, but it's just good that you know where it's at as well, just in case
Thank
people
you so very
ask.
much. I appreciate it. Members time, Nicole. Morning. It's on there.
I just have a quick question for Tina. I just want to know if you have any concerns about the redistricting update, just in a simple format, because we initially had a plan, it was revised, had to be taken back through a process, or do you have any concerns about timing or getting any of the things done that you need to do in the office in a timely fashion?
No, I think that we will get, the voter notification cards out. I
If your
don't
answer
have,
is no, that's great.
well, this is what I was, it's not no, I don't have any concerns about us getting it out. I don't have concerns. My answer would be, I think overall, it's easy and it's trying to answer your question, but I just want to go because I just never had an opportunity to just kind of state the process. But I just happened, I saw an article, because I'm now sometimes, other areas put articles out on our processes, and I just happened to read an article in the Baltimore Sun, talking about the Board of Elections in Wicomico and how the redistricting process should have been finished. And, you know, when you looking back on, when the General Assembly passed it in April, you know, we got to go ahead to start on it. It sounds good. It looks good. You can push that button. It sounds like you can push the button and everything will happen in 30 days. And it doesn't happen that way. You know, the General Assembly passed it, at the end of session in April. We got, addresses from Frank McKenzie in May. And we broke it down so that it wouldn't be, a lot for the staff, you know, over the summer with doing vacations and just trying to make sure that we were proven and doing everything. And our goal at that time was to be finished by the fall, which is where we are now. And when we started the process, the end of August, you can remember I told you we had entered all our data. And we were on track and ready, you know, to get everything out. And then when we went back at the end of the proofing process to look at the data, that's when we realized that it would have been a complete mess, just going to the polls and following the process that I had gotten from someone at the state board office. What I didn't know about it was that we had to go back and redo what's called our precincts, which is what you all just voted on last month. And that was a whole nother process. And, you know, first you enter the data, and because it's manual, you have to go through and look at that. And we looked at the information in our computers. We didn't have what's called written descriptions of all of the areas or any shape files to go by, which is normally what happens when you're going through that process. Doing that part of the process is, you know, it does not happen until after you set everybody. So you have no way of knowing the issues that have come up until the end. So, the issues I feel, you know, we were able to bring out and make sure that everyone is aware of them. And I feel like with handling what the technical issues were, I feel like they were handled in the right way. But the process is a very manual process. It does take a lot of hours and time, and it is a costly process. So if, you know, there's talk about possible redistricting in the future, I don't think the congressional redistricting will affect us because of course we're all one district, as bad as doing something like the county council, because that does involve not just the county council, it involves our polling places, our precincts, and making sure that the ballot styles match in the polling, in our polling locations. And as I told you last month, you can only, in each precinct is one council and it's one legislative, and that's what makes that process difficult. So, at this point, we are intending to, send our information out in December. But we're at the point now of where we are, just calling around just to see the best way that we can do it, whether we're gonna do it as fall or, possibly have, one of the vendors mail our, BNCs out for us because it's so many. But at this point, no, but it's a very long process to make sure that it's accurate. It could be short, but, to make sure that you're accurate and you're correct in what you're doing, it is a long process.
So since I said I had one question, I actually have two.
Okay.
And so that said, for those precincts that now have less people, what about the capacity for us to set up fully to handle that small number?
So,
Other than expense, I guess that's pretty much where we are.
so the ones that fell below 20, those are the ones that we're waiting for the county council approval. And as far as we know at this point, that's not gonna be an issue. The other precincts, we have put them in polling places to where you'll have what's called consolidated, precincts, so where you have more than one precinct in a polling location together.
Got it.
And so,
That's good public information.
yes, yes. So it's called consolidated precincts, and it's more than one at a location. And you are gonna get, voters that will be, at different locations than what they were previously.
A lawyer.
No, I just had a question following up on that. Is that gonna require any special training at the judges? Training, or is that gonna affect like the types of ballots that have to be handed out when people check in?
What'll happen is, it's the same training. What we train our judges to do is to look at their, voter information, their voter authority card.
Right.
And their ballot style, the voter's ballot style is printed on the voter authority card. And, so it's the same training. We train them to look and to give the voter the ballot style that's on their voter authority card.
Is this gonna increase the number of ballot styles? The new redistricting?
It did increase it slightly, once we finished our final changes, so the ballot styles will increase. Because we have more precincts, so we will have an increase in ballot styles.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? With all this changing around, do you have an estimate of how many people are being moved?
I have an estimate about how many changes there were. So it's definitely over, 32,000 voters that have changes,
Changes, 32,000.
over 32,000.
So when this occurs and you have that volume, then that's gonna increase something in your budget for you to be able to handle to send that information out to 32,000 people. And then have someone for all the returns that might come in, and your staff that might have to check to find out where these people really are.
It's a cost to it.
It's a cost to it.
Mhm. Yeah, but it will be, more than what we would typically pay in a gubernatorial. So it will be a higher cost.
It might have been more helpful or useful if you had been involved earlier in that process.
That would have been helpful, yes. Mhm. Yes.
I'm in agreement. I always thought that we should be proactive and not always having to someone set a plan for us, and then we've got to be reactive. That's just my comment for at the end, because Carson said he had anything. The people that are guiding and leading us. I know it's a lot of change, because when it gets closer to the election, there's always a lot of changes from the state to me, this is just a whole new area. After this process is gone through, with the number of people and the number of people that were shifted and moved around.
Well, the process was forced on us by
Yeah.
the
Yes.
lawsuit. It's not
Yes.
like it was something that we couldn't have predicted, or even the resolution couldn't have been predicted. So, you know, I compliment you for being able to respond. And to follow up on Sharon's point, and she's so good at verifying processes. Last one, she talked about making sure the county council knows the labor intensive qualities of this. And, you know, I just want to emphasize that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely.
Would
a
Carson
demand.
saying that would it be like swinging them if you wanted to be on their agenda just to make a summary so that people watching the county council meeting can understand that this is just not turning a page, that this was an intensive process to accommodate, not necessarily accommodate the lawsuit, but to make sure voters' access was priority. You're good at words, Sharon's good at words. I just want to say something different than I'm trying to convey.
So you're saying to summarize it for the county council once we're complete?
The council
Okay.
and I think voters need to know.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yes,
this process is part of that because this is now on YouTube.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
voters can actually see the.
see that we
But
do.
the county council would definitely be a
But the
bigger
council would
outreach.
be a big-
Yes, because there'll be more people that watch that they can be, you know, just as a summary of what this whole process has been after you got the word go. That
Okay,
it's just not flipping a page, it's very intensive.
yes.
We want you to be on the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
we'll,
talked about that at the last
yes.
meeting.
once we get, approved, with our election plan and we get our BNCs out, then what I'll do is I'll talk to, Laura and, John to see if we can get on the agenda and go over that, because we're gonna have to do some outreach and that will be the start of our
Yeah.
outreach.
That would be a great place.
That would be
Yeah.
You can refer people back to that if you want
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Yeah,
That would be a- that
we'll
would
start
be a
with the
great-
county.
Yes, I mean.
So
that
that'll
would
be
a
our
great
first,
As soon as the
and
process
we'll
is
keep that
kinda done,
process,
yeah.
yes.
I hope they see this as a priority because you were going to be on the last, council meeting agenda and you got moved 2 weeks. This is a
Yes.
priority, so
Mhm.
Hopefully they see.
I can't see, I looked at the last agenda, I still get copies of them, and I don't see where even at the end of the meeting, you could have had 10 minutes to just come in and that would have not delayed us 2 more weeks.
Right, yeah. Well, what I'll do is, I'll talk to them and see where we can, put on the agenda once we know, when our BNCs are going out and once I get all of that together and how that process will happen, then I'll get something together and get it there. So
Thank
it'll
you.
be in
Yeah.
December or the beginning of January.
Yeah.
That'll be my goal.
So,
For the
Yeah,
agenda.
so that people are not just thinking, because I've already had a couple of comments as though we're sitting over here not doing a thing. And I said, do one election.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy process and to continue to do whatever else is required.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you all, because it's more than what the average person would think. And you all are so diligent, do your best work, so I give you all the praise, because you have to do all that manually.
Yeah, right now it is.
That's intensive, it's not pushing a button, it's manually,
Mhm.
so I thank you all.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And it's the team, everybody's been doing something different in that process. I think all hands have been, working. I can't say that not one person, has not contributed in the office, to the outcome, from our new people that we hired, with IT, Leora and Kashawn have jumped right in, to even, Becky up front, who answers the phones, her background, was English. She was a prior English teacher, so she reads over a lot of our memos and things that we send out. So everyone has put some effort in this process.
Okay.
I just have one more thing. We talked in the past, Woody was kind of big on this, but where are we on election judges? Or you ever talked in the past about doing extra reaching out or flyers or something? Is it time to start that, or
Yeah,
you might have already started?
we've already started, and, Judy gave me some brochures. And one of our meetings, when was it? Was it August or
Not too long
September?
ago, we got them.
It was September.
And they've
Yeah.
gone out.
Yeah, so
They've gone out to meet people.
Yeah, we
Didn't
do
know
the
if we had numbers,
brochures.
if we had any numbers yet, like how many.
Not to where, cause we haven't placed anybody yet.
Right.
But we're just taking in, the names and the information, and what we get in, we'll usually, train everybody that we get in and, or that applies. And then we place, those people as we need them.
I noticed it was on your sign outside. so-
Yeah, I saw it on the
Mhm.
sign.
We have it on the sign, we do have it on the website.
Right.
I just
And of course,
curious
we
if
tell
people,
people all the time.
if people have been calling in saying, put me on the list or anything. Not yet.
We get some,
Right.
but they're not running and knocking the doors down.
Right.
We
I'm
do
sorry.
have like something that comes on the website that we get, so we're getting like a regular list from our state board website. We get that about once a week. And we get a few names off each time that they send that. And, everywhere we go, when we go out to outreach, we have flyers that we give to, people when we're doing our trainings.
Right.
We also give it to the candidates that are coming in. And when I go over to our meetings with, Julie, the county executive, I tell people there as well. So each of our departments,
Right.
we tell them as well.
You could add that as a item when you speak to the county council.
I will. Yeah, about judges, yeah, because we're always, looking for judges, and even when we went over in October to the candidate training, we took our flyers there too. So we tell them, everywhere we go, we tell them about the judges.
Yeah, it's a good point. You wanna make sure the elections run smooth.
Yeah, be part of it.
Chance to be a judge.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes people make me.
yeah.
I'm aware.
So it's something that does not stop, because people do ask, and I'm like, no, we recruit judges year round. So if somebody even sees me on the street and asks me, I give them the information to send their names in.
Right.
And last year, I think we had approximately 40 judges on standby. We used every last one of them for the presidential, so we'll still do that. For the gubernatorial primary as well, to keep our standby, on a list and ready to go. So even if we don't necessarily have a placement, just because of where we're trying to balance, we keep people on standby lists, and we normally will use them.
That's a good idea. Like on election day, the standby, if you needed extra help in here, would you be able to call them in
Mhm.
just so they, they're on the list? They might not be at a place, but they get some experience.
Yeah, we
Stay on the list
normally,
for next time.
anybody that we qualify to be a judge, we've not used one person that has signed up.
Thank you.
That's another aha moment. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, if we're all, I'm not being facetious. It's been an education. Not that we don't do it every month. But you put out a lot of information.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. And all the people that work in the department,
Kudos to,
to everyone.
yeah, to everyone. One thing I can say is, Jocelyn and Judy, as well as Julie, have done a lot of overtime, helping with the process. Nicole has not done as much overtime because she's working on another part of the process. But the street part of it, they have been the ones that have been very instrumental.
And I,
So I do think that.
when I come through and I see how they interact, and they don't mind helping one another.
Mhm.
And that makes to me a big difference. It's not like this is not my job, but I see them going and working
different times coming in to working with different people, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. Motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I appreciate the information. Very informative.
You're already.
Oh, I forgot to tell you about the law books. The law books are here, cause I know you need one, right? But they didn't send me the binders. They sent the inside. Everyone else